Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks belong to God, the Lord of the worlds. May peace, blessings, and prayers be upon Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, and all of God's prophets and messengers. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is Edward Ahmed Mitchell, welcoming you to today's episode of CAIR on Air. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you are doing well and staying safe, inshallah, God willing. A special thank you to our listeners on American Muslim 360. As usual, if you have any comments you'd like to share during the program or questions you want to pose, just put them in the comment section on Facebook and we'll try to get to them during the program, inshallah. So today's program is going to cover how the Muslim community has been dealing with the 20th anniversary of 9/11. As you know, the community, alhamdulillah, did a lot of positive things over the weekend, service projects, remembrance of the victims of both 9/11 and all the people who died around the world as a result of 9/11. So alhamdulillah, it was a very somber, sad, but also reassuring time to once again see the vast majority of the country coming together and uniting over the weekend for the memorial of September 11th, 2001. However, sadly, there were some individuals who decided to use 9/11 as an opportunity to engage in bigotry and hatred, targeted in particular at the Muslim community. Alhamdulillah, everyone is safe, but these two incidents were very disturbing that we're going to talk to you about today. We're going to talk about two incidents in Michigan and then a separate incident in Maryland, inshallah. And we'll talk about how the community is addressing these issues and what lessons we can learn from this bigotry and what lessons perhaps our country has not fully learned over the past 20 years. So to discuss these topics, we're going to start in Michigan, the great state of Michigan, with the staff attorney, civil rights attorney from CAIR-Michigan. Let's bring on Amy Doukoure. Assalamu alaikum, Amy. How are you?
Walaikum salam, Brother Edward. Alhamdulillah, how are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. It's great to see you. First, how's everyone in Michigan? How's CAIR-Michigan doing? How's the team up there?
Alhamdulillah, everybody's well. We've moved to a new building. We've settled in. We're down to work. You know how it is.
Awesome. Congratulations on the new building. May Allah grant you all continued success with your work. Mm-hmm. So, Amy, let's dive right in. Michigan is, a state with a very, very large Muslim population, a very large Arab American population. In many ways, it's kind of a state that many Muslims around the country look up to, for a state that respects the Muslim community, in which the Muslim community is very active and involved. But you all are not immune to bigotry. You're not immune to discrimination. You're not immune to Islamophobia. No state is. So tell us, Amy, first, what happened over the weekend with this incident on Spirit Airlines? Let's go with that incident first. Break it down for us.
Sure. So we had a client who's actually from Flint, Michigan. She's African-American Muslim, muhajaba. She wears the headscarf, so she's visibly Muslim. She was traveling back to Michigan on Spirit Airlines from Atlanta, Georgia. I know that's your hometown, I believe.
It is indeed.
Yeah, and there was a woman on the plane who was acting pretty belligerently for the whole flight. Our client says she verbally assaulted an African-American crew member. She was just engaging in loud talking. And as the plane landed and people stood up to take their baggage, an older woman of South Asian descent dropped her carry-on luggage. And the Caucasian woman accused her of hitting her with her bag and demanded an apology and began using profanities at this woman. And she was about 70, in her 70s, maybe 80 years old. So she's a much older woman. And she threatened the woman to take her outside and beat her up and teach her some manners. And our client stepped in and was, encouraging the woman to calm down and saying, this could be your mom. You shouldn't talk to elderly women like that. And the woman started turning her ire to our client and cursed out our client, called her a effing Muslim terrorist, started threatening her. And our client took out her phone to record in self-defense so she would capture the incident. And as our client took out her phone to start recording the woman became even more irate at the idea that she was going to be video recorded. And she actually physically punched with a closed fist our client, intending to assault her and also to be able to knock her phone out of her hands. Yeah. And then in the end, the woman was told that she was going to be arrested, and she started crying and saying that she was defending herself. She had the right to defend herself, and trying to, say that our client was the aggressor. And alhamdulillah, she was taken into custody right away by the authorities.
It always ends in the tears, right? They start off with the first thing, they escalate the violence, and then once they're in trouble, oh, hold on, this is a tragedy. I'm so sorry about that. Not even I'm sorry, but just the meltdown, the tears, hoping that a display of emotion will somehow excuse the behavior. We've seen that in New York with the individual who targeted the bird watcher, and in so many other videos. So first, how's your client doing? It sounds like she wasn't damaged too much by this, but I'm sure she was shaken up and disturbed. How's she doing?
Alhamdulillah, she didn't suffer any physical damages from this, but she's suffered emotional harm from what happened. She was worried about intervening, when she sees something wrong, and she feels compelled as a Muslim to intervene when she sees things that are wrong, and now she's second guessing her nature to do that. She was wondering maybe if she didn't have the headscarf on, if she would have been treated differently. So it's really caused her some real emotional harm, but alhamdulillah, she's adamant that she wants to see this go through, to the prosecution go through, and she's going to be strong. And she really wanted to speak out because she thinks it's important for other people to understand what Muslim women go through on a daily basis, so that maybe we can change the culture of this racial and religious attacks that have been taking place so prevalently lately.
Absolutely. And I don't know if she's listening now, but if she is, I'll just say, may Allah reward you for what you did. You did the right thing. You didn't have to do it. Wasn't an easy thing to do, but to know, number one, that you're likely going to be a target because you're visibly Muslim, and to then step in anyway and to try to protect someone else from harm is a brave thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And I can only say, may Allah reward her abundantly for that act. And that intervention as a bystander, it's dangerous. We know in Portland several years ago, there were Muslim women on a train, Amy, who were being harassed by a man who was turned out to be a white supremacist. And two men intervened to protect them, and the white supremacist had a knife and stabbed one of them, and damaging him severely, and then killed the other man. So it takes courage to step in and protect other people, and it can be a very dangerous thing. But she did the right thing, and may Allah reward her for that. So Amy, what's next? Next steps? How's the airline responded to this incident? What are they saying? And also law enforcement. Do we have a hate crime charge? Is it just regular charges? What's going on that front?
So starting with the airline, we've actually haven't heard anything from Spirit Airline other than their media consultant calling us and asking us for videos of the incident. But they've not reached out at all about what has taken place. I know they put a statement out saying that this woman will be banned for life from flying Spirit again. And so I'm not sure that's enough. There's also some details about how this woman was acting on the flight and whether or not she was served alcohol after being told that she was too intoxicated for alcohol. So there are some steps that Spirit could have taken to prevent this type of attack. So we're hoping to open a dialogue with them in the near future if they're interested. Law enforcement has arrested and released the assailant in this circumstance, and they have requested a warrant from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. However, they haven't indicated to us, despite our request for information, what charges they're going to be recommending to the prosecutor's office. We are hopeful that this will fall within the scope of charges under Michigan's Ethnic Intimidation Act, because we believe her actions in targeting several minority populations and her express animus towards our client because of her Muslim faith prior to the physical assault it puts her directly within the scope of the statute.
Right, absolutely. So, I'm not a lawyer in Michigan, but it sounds like based on what you're describing, this is an easy fit. This is almost like a law school exam question, right? Where you can just easily fit the facts into that statute. So you would hope, number one, that appropriate charges are leveled, just like they would do with someone who was a Muslim committing a crime or a person of color committing a crime. But also, you've got to hope that they are forthcoming with information, right? Especially in Wayne County, very diverse county. We hope they are more forthcoming with information about what they're doing, and I'm sure you will stay on top of it, Amy. So the client is doing okay, shaken up, but God willing, inshallah, she will recover from this. Airlines has said they're going to ban her. Probably more needs to be done. I think the question about alcohol is a very good question. I mean, it's a good question why alcohol is served on airplanes anyway. I think that's one of the last places in the world you want to be serving alcohol. And then also there's the law enforcement angle. So keep us posted on that, Amy, on how it goes. Now, tell me about the other incident that happened. We had a vandalism incident. Tell us about that.
Sure. So on the evening of 9/11, there a masjid in Grand Blanc, Michigan, which is probably about an hour outside of Detroit, just north of Detroit. They had signage and some peripheral lights that were damaged and destroyed. We've been able to obtain security camera footage of what took place, and it appears that three young Caucasian individuals, probably late teens, early 20s, appeared at the masjid and originally attempted to enter the masjid, and upon not being able to enter, went and destroyed the surrounding property at the masjid. So it's very unfortunate. It's something that unfortunately Muslims have kind of gotten used to. We've had several incidences over the last couple of years in Michigan with vandalizations of masjids. So it's an unfortunate incident.
Yeah. Now, Amy, let me ask you this. It's kind of a broader question. So we noted at the top of the program that Michigan, very diverse, very large Muslim population. So you would think that things would be a bit better there compared to, for example, where I am, Georgia, where the community is still large but growing, and it's a politically and socially much different place. But it seems not necessarily the case, that in Michigan you still face these challenges. So any lessons you learned from that? Any reasons for that? Is it like backlash to seeing the Muslim community in Michigan be so successful and effective? Or is it just, bigots exist everywhere, so, you have that danger anywhere? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there are just some residual bigots, people who just hold bigoted views, whether they be xenophobic or Islamophobic, and believe that the Muslim community is inherently an immigrant community that's coming to take over the United States. So I think it's some of that. But I think that from my experience, after Trump was elected, we've seen those people coming out of the woodwork. Michigan actually flipped for Trump in his original election. Certain areas of Michigan, including some of our larger counties like Macomb County, which is right outside of Detroit, hold very, very similar views to Trump and his people. They actually got him elected here in Michigan. So we're facing a lot of struggles with those communities, and we find ourselves having difficulties in those communities with, becoming members of full members of the society. We're still having zoning issues in Macomb County. We're still having no masjids in certain cities in Oakland County that have more than 3,000 Muslims in the city itself, and we can't get a masjid there. So we're still facing those types of struggles even in Michigan.
That is crazy to think about. And there'd be any place in the state of Michigan, of all places, where a mosque would have trouble being established. I mean, that's crazy to think about, but it just shows you why, you need the work of CAIR and other organizations that the fight continues. So, Amy, let's end on a positive note. So, whenever we highlight these stories, I always want to make clear that, we as Muslims, we should not think of ourselves as weak, as victimized, as helpless. We don't tell these stories so that you feel under threat or victimized, but rather so that, number one, you know how to engage in self-defense, that you keep your community and yourself safe. Number two, you're inspired. In the case of the first story, this is a Muslim woman who stepped up to defend someone else who was in danger, right? And number three, even when bad things happen, you still have Muslims like Amy here and others, and even people who are not Muslim, but friends of the Muslim community, who are there to step up, to fight for justice and do the right thing. So these should guide you to be safer, guide you to feel inspired, and reassured. So Amy, end us on a positive note. Tell us, for those of us who want to learn lessons from the positive things the Michigan Muslim community has been doing, especially over the past 20 years since 9/11, how is your community doing overall despite these challenges? What's your read on things?
We have a very, as you said, we have a large Muslim population here, but we have a very thriving Muslim community here. We are known, and we do a lot of philanthropic work. We have a lot of interfaith coalitions. On 9/11 this year, there was a lot of communities that got together, and they did outreach work, and they did to commemorate 9/11 in a positive way, and they shared their stories, and they were stories of both the hardship that 9/11 caused and all the ways that we've overcome as a nation and as a community ever since. In my hometown of Canton and other places, we really saw that. We saw people coming together of all faiths and all races and nationalities coming together to really work together to do the work of good people on 9/11, cleaning up the city, providing food resources for other people. And it's something that the Muslim community in Michigan is known for, is providing comfort and aid to other communities in need. So we're really proud of the work that the Michigan Muslims are doing.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, to do good and to respond to evil with good. May Allah reward all of you for the work you're doing. May Allah protect you and grant you continued success. Amy, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Inshallah, we look forward to hearing more positive news from you in the future. Inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And next, we're going to shift to the state of Maryland and talk about a situation there. Let's bring on now Zainab Chaudry, who is the director of our Maryland Outreach Office. Assalamu alaikum, Zainab. How are you? I'm good, alhamdulillah.
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. How are you doing?
It's okay. I can read lips. I've been doing this show for so long, and I think we've all been on Zoom for so long. I can almost read lips. I'm good, alhamdulillah. Thank you for joining us. So, Zainab, before we start talking about what's going on in Maryland, I just want to highlight one thing. So, in CAIR Austin, so we talked about Michigan, hate crimes there. There was something that happened in Austin, Texas. Correct me if I'm wrong, producer. I think it was Austin. Let's put it on screen. So we had a vandalism incident outside of a mosque there on 9/11. Someone decided to put a very, disgusting message outside the community center there. That's the head of a pig, poor pig, and then you've got this message here that was left outside of a mosque. Now, look, again, I think for most, people in the Muslim community, we are not shocked by this. We've seen even worse than that. We've seen mosques bombed. But to me, the thing that really gets me about this, Zainab, is the combination of the pig, like this disgusting message, with a religious message, right? It's like, how do you proselytize someone while you are doing something so disgusting and offensive? Like, if you put a picture, there was one time a mosque in New York, someone just put a picture, a drawing of their understanding of the Virgin Mary outside the mosque. That was it. Well, look, if that's your way of proselytizing, okay, it's not necessarily offensive, it's just your thing. But to think you're going to proselytize someone at the same time you're doing something this disgusting and offensive and illegal, it really says something horrible about you and your understanding of your faith. It's very unchristian, it's very immoral, it's just dumb. And it shows you the warped individuals that we're dealing with who can somehow reconcile their religious beliefs with this sort of behavior. I mean, it's the same thing our brother Mustafa Kara would always say, that, the fact that in America you had white racists in support of segregation, lynching, and they considered themselves devout Christians, even though they were abusing black devout Christians. It just shows to me the crazy dichotomy and cognitive dissonance these people are suffering from. But anyway, Zainab, I assume you heard about this. Any thoughts on this incident? I mean, is this the worst thing you've seen in recent times, or is this kind of, par for the course?
Well, it's definitely not very appetizing, considering I just came off of eating lunch. No, Edward, we have ignorance and bigotry in every faith group, and unfortunately, this is a manifestation of a long string of incidents where we've seen various porcine products being used to somehow, alienate and attack the Muslim community, or incite, fear or some sort of angst within the Muslim community, as if, this is kryptonite that's going to somehow cause Muslims to dissolve. It's shameful, it's sad, it's juvenile. Unfortunately, it's, the reality that these kind of incidents do happen, and hopefully our communities can rise above these kind of instances and repel evil with better, and use this as an opportunity to turn something disgusting and horrible and despicable into a teaching moment about what Islam actually says about improving interfaith relations, and just, rejecting these kind of incidents.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Let's take that off. So Zainab, now tell us about Maryland. We'll start with the case you're working right now. What's going on with that? Break it down for us.
Yeah, so the latest incident that we have had in Maryland last week on Thursday, a Maryland family tells us that their daughter had just come home from somewhere, and she was parking her car in front of their driveway. This was in Prince George's County, and she was parking her car, and another driver pulled up adjacent to her, as if also almost like blocking off the road from other traffic being able to enter into that street. And she was staring at her in a very threatening, very menacing manner. The daughter reports that she felt very intimidated. She felt like she was being, being harassed. And she could tell that the driver was saying something. Her window was rolled up. So the daughter rolled her window down to get a better sense of what was being said. And the driver of the other vehicle was shouting racist slurs, calling her a terrorist, commenting on her skin color, commenting on her hijab. She wears a headscarf. And basically just saying very demeaning, horrible things to her. The daughter was obviously afraid. She was concerned about her safety. This was 2 days before the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So our communities, I think, typically already tend to become a little bit on edge, anticipating that there's going to be backlash or some sort of animosity or bigotry towards Muslims around the anniversary anyway, unfortunately. She called her father. Her father was working from home. He was inside. He came out, and by that time, the driver had pulled off. Before she pulled off, she made a threat allegedly saying, quote unquote, punishment is coming soon, indicating that, she should watch her back. So the father came out. The daughter was disturbed. She was distraught. They drove around the neighborhood. They found the car in another driveway. So that's how they found out this is a neighbor or somebody who knows a neighbor who lives in the same neighborhood. And the family reported the incident to Green Belt Police. The police did not really seem to take the incident very seriously, unfortunately. And then the family called CAIR.
Gotcha. So, first of all, thank you, Zainab, for stepping in to help this family. It's what we have to do on short notice often. So how's she doing now? How's the family responding to this in the community, if at all?
Yeah, no, the family, they are disturbed. This is one of a string of incidents that they've had to endure. The father tells CAIR that they've had to deal with incidents since summertime where the irrigation system in front of their house was deliberately broken. They could tell it was deliberately broken because the way that it was damaged. It couldn't have been accidental, apparently, from what the family tells us. They've discovered slashed tires of their vehicles on their driveway. They've discovered nails and screws on their driveway. There's been other incidents that have happened that have made this family feel vulnerable and targeted. So this is just the latest in a string of incidents. And so that's one of the reasons why CAIR has also called on police to do their due diligence, to do an investigation and help bring justice for this family and make sure that not only are these incidents not repeated, but that they are kept safe. The daughter is afraid. We held a news conference at the CAIR National Office on Friday, also revealing the results of the survey that CAIR conducted on the anniversary of 9/11. And the father came. The daughter was afraid to come. She fears retaliation. She's planning to apply for medical school, and she's worried that if she comes public, that there might be some kind of backlash to her. And we see this a lot within our communities. Unfortunately, when these kind of incidents are reported, there is also an accompanying fear that prohibits people from sometimes coming forward or seeking justice for themselves, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Now, Zainab, this reminds me, there was an incident in Maryland a few months ago. I think it was a highway incident. Car crashed into another car, Muslims in the car. Any news on that? Any updates on that? I think we were still waiting to get the video of the crash and see if there was any other evidence that might explain what happened, or whether it was really an accident or something worse.
Yeah, the family had followed up with the state police to get more information. CAIR had reached out to secure footage of the incident to find out if there was more evidence that could be used to determine whether the driver who struck the vehicle with the Muslim family was actually at fault, or he claims that allegedly the claim is that the sun was in his eye. However, based on photos that were provided to CAIR by the family, the Muslim family, the sun clearly was in a different direction. It's hard to believe that could be a credible justification or excuse. But the family in terms of the monetary compensation, they've been able to have their vehicle, that part of the situation addressed. But the mental and the emotional trauma of this kind of incident is something that takes much longer to to get justice for, and for the family to get, some kind of remediation for. The suspect was not arrested. He has not been, charged with any crime. And that's another sort of case where we see, these kind of incidents that happen impacting members of our communities, where there just isn't any clear kind of, justice that's delivered for this family. But we encourage our communities to continue to report, because when these kind of incidents happen, when you report, it provides us an opportunity to really assess the impact of bigotry and potentially bigotry and hate within our communities. So our hope is that the family is able to at least, get counseling and therapy for the family members who were in the car, to help them process with the aftermath of that incident.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Zainab, thank you for the updates on those two cases. Let me end on a positive note if I can. So, I as I said to Amy earlier in the program, that when we highlight these stories, we don't want Muslims to feel afraid or victimized or marginalized or any of that stuff, right? We are not, it's not how we should be living our lives. It's not how the people we respect and love, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, they didn't present themselves or live as victims in fear. But rather they were cautious, they were self-confident, they engaged in self-defense, and when they were wrong, they stood up for themselves. So, Zainab, end us on a positive note. Tell us, how is the Maryland Muslim community doing in general? 20 years after 9/11, and after years of incidents like this. Tell us, the positive things about what the community has been able to accomplish and how it's been able to show its resilience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that in the aftermath of 9/11, the challenges that our communities have faced have inspired many members of our communities to be more resilient, to be more engaged in public service, to volunteer and step up and contribute to society in different ways. We're seeing more young people who are interested in running for public office, or who are interested in serving on their school board of education, or volunteering in different capacities within their mosques. We see young people who are taking on more leadership positions, which is really inspirational. And I think that that's always like the positive outcome of this. I think we're also seeing more Muslims on the national stage as well, who are serving in Congress, or who are serving in government, state, federal, local level government, or who are, we're seeing in the media and pop culture and Hollywood and different platforms, where typically in the past we have not seen this representation. And I think in part that's also inspiring more Muslims to not be bystanders, right? To be more effectively engaged, to continue to leverage your voice, to speak truth and stand up to injustices, and to own your own narrative, and to take control of your agency, and never allow fear and intimidation to prevent you from standing up for yourself and your loved ones.
Absolutely. Zainab, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your thoughts, and for your work on these issues. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you again on CAIR on Air, hopefully discuss some more positive things, inshallah.
Thank you, Edward.
Thank you, Zainab.
Wa
alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you all for joining today's episode of CAIR on Air. We appreciate it. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you for the next episode on Thursday at 3 o'clock, inshallah. I will also note that, as you all know, last week we delivered a letter to Hilton Hotel headquarters in McLean, Virginia, calling on the corporation to cancel their plans to license the establishment of a Hampton Inn in China, in the Uyghur region of China, on the site of a destroyed, bulldozed mosque. Hilton has had months to pull out of this project. They have so far refused to do so. We have given them until Wednesday to pull out. If we do not hear from them by then, inshallah, we plan to, with our over 40 partners here and around the world, initiate a boycott campaign against Hilton hotels. We don't want to do that. We much prefer to work things out, but we've been trying privately and publicly for months to get this resolved, and it appears the corporation is more afraid of the Chinese government than they are concerned about the rights of human beings or the feelings of their customers. So we're still hopeful. We'll see what happens tomorrow, inshallah. But if they do not do the right thing, please stand by for more information about what we're going to need you to do to help stop this genocide hotel and end all corporate complicity in human rights violations around the world, inshallah. Thank you all so much for joining. We will be in touch soon, inshallah. Until then, assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you.